So, Transport Canada has halted rebate payments to Tesla, and now every single claim is going to have to go through an individual review. Meanwhile, Mark Carney is out on the campaign trail in Windsor, which is, really the heart of Canada's auto manufacturing sector, right at a time when the industry is facing a major turning point. Automotive exports are actually Canada's second most valuable, hitting $51 billion, with 93% of that heading straight to the United States. Tesla, which was once the uncontested leader in electric vehicles, is now, at the center of a pretty surprising new crisis with Canada. The company's recent challenges include these new tariffs from the United States, President Donald Trump, and retaliatory measures from Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, who's actually targeting Tesla directly. This confrontation is about more than just a feud. It really ties into those broader tensions in global trade and the automotive supply chain. After Trump's tariff announcement, the Canadian government excluded Tesla from its national EV rebate programs and froze previously approved payments. This decision could disrupt Tesla's position in the North American market, shake investor confidence, and, affect the company's share price. Yet the dispute stretches beyond just Tesla and Canada. Factors like US-China competition, European EV regulations, and the fragile state of global supply chains all play a role in this escalating conflict. So how did Tesla, a global EV pioneer, end up caught in this economic storm? What triggered Canada to cut off its incentives? And could Trump's tariffs completely shift the balance of the North American auto industry? Tesla, under Elon Musk's leadership, who also serves as a political ally to Trump, has become a powerful force in the EV market. But its aggressive approach hasn't always sat well with regulators. This latest controversy in Canada centers around a taxpayer-funded EV program worth billions. Musk's political involvement and Trump's tariffs on Canadian imports have only intensified the backlash. Canada didn't just stop future rebates, they also canceled a massive $43 million claim. Carney labeled Trump's 25% auto tariffs a direct attack and called an emergency cabinet meeting in response. On March 27th, he posted online that Canada would actively defend its industries and workforce from U.S. aggression, promising a stronger, more resilient economy in return. Canada's breaking point came when Tesla submitted a massive rebate request shortly after the government announced the EV program budget was nearly depleted. The $43.1 million application, which covered around $30 million in subsidies, triggered alarm bells. Even more shocking, Tesla reportedly moved nearly 9,000 vehicles through just 4 dealerships over a single weekend, selling a car every 30 seconds. The Canadian Automobile Dealers Association questioned the credibility of those numbers and accused Tesla of exploiting the system. As a result, Transport Minister Chrystia Freeland launched an inquiry and froze all payments. This suspension is a serious blow to Tesla's financial planning, intensifying the trade spat with the U.S. But Canada's decision wasn't only driven by tariffs. Tesla's incentive tactics played a big part. The automaker ramped up rebate applications from just 300 to nearly 6,000 in a short time span, raising concerns that it was gaming the system. This isn't the first time Tesla used loopholes to qualify for incentives. Back in 2019, when Canada's IZEV program required EVs to cost under 45,000 Canadian dollars to qualify, Tesla introduced a stripped-down Model 3 listed at 44,999, even though it had a pretty poor range of just 151 kilometers. This so-called compliance car allowed Tesla to rake in millions in subsidies. Since 2019, Tesla has claimed an estimated 713 million Canadian dollars in Canadian EV rebates. But this aggressive behavior has now made the company the focus of a deeper government probe. At the heart of this trade drama is Trump's March 26th announcement of a permanent 25% tariff on all imported vehicles. He also warned that if the EU sides with Canada, they'd face even steeper penalties. Trump says his goal is to protect American manufacturing and reduce reliance on foreign parts. But honestly, analysts say the plan could backfire. Even U.S. automakers rely on global supply chains. Tariffs could raise production costs, shrink profit margins, and slow down car sales. Companies like Ford, GM, and Tesla may be forced to increase prices, weakening their market competitiveness and consumer affordability. Tariffs are set to begin on April 3rd. As global trade tensions rise, the U.S.'s position in the auto sector may take a hit, ironically hurting the very companies Trump says he wants to protect. All of this has really shaken Tesla's financial outlook. In recent weeks, Tesla stock has been highly volatile. On March 25, 2025, shares surged 12%, one of the biggest gains in recent memory, but they still remain 44% below their all-time peak in December. Canada's decision to shut Tesla out of the rebate program triggered a 5.6% stock drop, bringing shares down to $272.06 and breaking through key technical levels. The result, a noticeable drop in Tesla's market value. Meanwhile, Tesla's performance in Europe is really slipping. In the first 2 months of 2025, new vehicle registrations plunged by 47.1%, with only 11,743 units sold. The company's European market share shrank from 2.5% to just 1.4%. Analysts point to both commercial and political causes. Musk's, erratic political statements have drawn criticism across Europe, worsening the company's already fragile standing. Elon Musk's vocal support for Germany's far-right AfD party and his controversial involvement in UK politics have taken a toll on Tesla's reputation across Europe. Compounding the issue, fierce price competition from Chinese EV makers and the rollout of new models from European manufacturers have really intensified the market challenge. Tougher EU carbon emission standards and the possibility of fresh import taxes on Chinese cars are creating even more complications for Tesla's European strategy. With mounting pressure from all directions, Tesla is entering a critical phase in the region and honestly must take bold steps to maintain its footing. At the same time, Tesla is seeing sales shrink in its home market. In 2024, the company's U.S. registrations dropped significantly, even as global numbers stayed relatively steady. U.S. registrations fell 11% in January, while competitors expanded their market presence. The biggest drops were seen in the Model 3, Model X, and Model S. Data from 2024 reveals a 17.4% decline in Model 3 sales, landing at 189,900 units. The Model X fell by 19.8%, while the Model S dropped a massive 31.2% to just 12,426 vehicles. Meanwhile, the Model Y managed to hold stable. Despite this U.S. slump, Tesla delivered 1.79 million vehicles globally in 2024, just short of the previous year's 1.81 million. This shows that international sales helped offset the dip in the American market. Looking ahead, the company hopes to rebound in the U.S. with fresh models by 2025. Tesla's roller coaster stock performance reflects mixed investor sentiment. Some view the recent downturn as a buying opportunity, banking on Tesla's continued leadership in the EV space and its push into self-driving tech. However, Musk's unpredictable public behavior, risky pricing decisions, and volatile political alignments raise concerns about long-term stability. On the competitive front, Chinese brands like BYD XPeng and NIO are, gaining ground fast with budget-friendly models, eating into Tesla's market share in both Europe and North America. The global competition is getting fiercer. Tesla's challenges now stretch beyond tech and production. They're deeply tied to economic shifts and political dynamics. Moving forward, government policies and major shifts in global automotive trends will be pivotal in determining the company's direction. World leaders are, paying close attention. Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva voiced strong criticism of the U.S. trade policy, warning that multilateralism is weakening and free trade is under threat. Global trade will suffer, he said through an interpreter. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen also voiced concern, stressing that the EU will stand by its businesses and consumers. Meanwhile, Hildegard Müller, head of Germany's Auto Industry Association, warned that U.S. tariffs will create pressure across the entire supply chain, ultimately hurting North American consumers and global prosperity. German Economy Minister Robert Habeck urged for diplomacy and a solution-focused approach, warning that a full-blown tariff battle with the U.S. would harm everyone involved, including global trade itself. In Canada, the Tesla controversy has sparked protests and even acts of sabotage. At an Ontario dealership, over 80 Tesla cars were vandalized, tires slashed, paint scratched. In Montreal, demonstrators painted the exterior of a Tesla store and staged a sit-in protest. These protests are fueled by Musk's alignment with Trump and his stance that clashes with Canada's focus on local production. Canada now views Tesla not as a partner, but as a threat to domestic industry, hence its exclusion from national EV subsidies. So, what does the future hold for Tesla in this crisis? The company may explore legal action, potentially arguing that Canada's move violates international trade agreements. But for now, the Canadian government appears resolute, making a quick reversal unlikely. Tesla might be forced to revisit its North American strategy, reshaping production plans, adjusting its supply chain, and rebuilding trust with Canadian authorities. It may also need to ramp up efforts in China and Europe using sharper pricing to recover market share. Of course, lowering prices could dent profit margins and trigger financial strain. Alternatively, Tesla might double down on premium vehicles to protect its brand image and avoid a race to the bottom. These recent events mark a pivotal moment, not just for Tesla in Canada, but for how future trade tensions could reshape the entire auto industry. How Tesla navigates this chapter and manages its Canadian fallout could have global implications. We'll be watching closely in the coming weeks to see how Tesla's dispute with the Canadian government unfolds and what kind of response, if any, the United States will deliver. So what do you think? Can Tesla bounce back, or are we witnessing the slow end of its golden era? Let's continue the conversation in the comments. Thanks for watching.